Hi everybody. Hope you're all surviving the quarantining from COVID-19. So I heard that cooking is a really good therapy for us having to stay at home so much. So if you had the opportunity to go shopping, or if you have an opportunity in the future to go shopping, hopefully we all still do that. These might be some ingredients you want to keep at home, because today I'm going to show how my mom, whose family was from Sicily, how my mom learned how to make meatballs. So my granddaughter tells me she can't eat meatballs anywhere else because they just don't taste like mine. So I thought I'd share my recipe, and especially for her, because, in reality, if anything happens to me, she needs to be the one to carry the tradition of my mom's meatballs, who I'm sure was her mom's meatballs and her mother's meatballs. And I'm sure it was carried down through many generations. So here it goes. Today I'm making 5 pounds of meatballs. So I have to 5 times the per pound recipe. So today, in making 5 pounds of meatballs, I already cracked my eggs. I'm using this big pot because it's making so much. I cracked 10 eggs, which means that's 2 eggs per pound. And I'm using the mixture of meat, which is the meatloaf mixture, which is beef, pork, and veal. I find that to make the best meatballs. I'm also using grated cheese. Don't use Parmesan cheese for meatballs. It really does change the taste. So in my purchase, I bought Pecorino Romano style grated cheese. And I would go with anything Italian like that, but not the Parmesan. That's for a different kind of recipe. I used fine garlic powder, salt, black pepper, and parsley flakes. So I already cracked 10 eggs. So that would be 2 eggs per pound. I take my 1 teaspoon measuring spoon, and I'll start with my salt. There's 1 teaspoon of salt per pound, so I need to do 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I always measure in a separate dish, so if I lose count or the phone rings and I forget where I was, I could just dump it and start all over. You don't always have to. About 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. You want to be careful. You don't want it too much pepper unless you like them hot, then go ahead and add more. But I do 1/4 teaspoon, so that would mean I'm going to do about a little bit more than the teaspoon. And I don't exactly measure things. I heaping, and I throw in a little bit extra here and there. Kind of makes it your own. Now we have garlic powder. I'm going to do 5 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 5 teaspoons of garlic powder. Don't forget, I'm making 5 pounds. And then I'm taking my parsley flakes, and I'm going to do 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I always go heaping on the parsley flakes. So I take all those ingredients, the salt, pepper, parsley flakes, and garlic, and I add it to my eggs. And I'll take my whisk and I'll mix that in. If you don't have a whisk, you can use a fork, just so you mix it in. Really good. Okay. Finished with that. I measured out 1/4 of a cup of that grated cheese. And I already measured it out, so I'm going to add that to my mixture. 1/4 of a cup per pound. So I have 1 cup and 1/4. Now, the breadcrumbs is a whole different thing. The reason why I do the breadcrumbs in a separate process is because this changes the texture of your meatball. So if your meatball is going to come out a little bit softer, not rubbery, you have to follow this process, because this is why my meatballs are different from the ones you're going to buy in the store. So I'm going to add, this was 1/3 cup of breadcrumbs per pound. So I have 1 1/3 cups in here. So I'm going to pour some in a dish, about half of it, like that. And I'm going to go get some water. Be right back. So with a fork, I poured the breadcrumbs with water and I mixed it. And I'm going to mix a little bit more. And I'm going to get some more water. I'm going to add a little bit more water to this because I like my breadcrumbs to be very, very moist. I don't like them to be at all mushy. I really like them very moist. So if you can see the texture, it almost looks like how you would mix baby cereal with their formula. So I would take that mixture and dump it in the pot. And then I'm going to do it with the rest of my breadcrumbs. Pour some water in, start mixing it until you get that same texture of a very thin oatmeal, or how you would make a baby's first cereal that you start them on, where it's very loose. And a little bit more water, and I think we got it. So this is my second mixture of breadcrumbs, and I take that and put that in the pot with the rest of the mixture. Whoops, I found some on the bottom. I got to put a little more water. Okay, now I got all my breadcrumbs all moistened up, and I added them to the pot of already mixed up seasonings. So we're going to take our whisk and we're going to mix everything together now. So the reason why I put everything in a pot first is so that everything mixes up evenly with the meat. If you add it onto the meat, there's a chance that, you know, part of your meat won't have enough cheese or won't have enough breadcrumbs, so you're not going to have a consistency in your meatballs. So this is my mixture of seasonings. Now we're going to add the meat. That's the veal, beef, and pork mixture. I put 5 pounds of meat in my pot. I buy mine at BJ's. I think they make the best meat around. So we're going to put the meat in. We're just going to keep swishing around. Keep swishing around. Keep moving it around. Don't wear any jewelry. It'll get into your jewelry. Make sure you take your rings off. And you just keep mixing and mixing and mixing until all that mixture is mixed in thoroughly with your meat. And keep mixing. This mixture of 5 pounds that I'm doing, it's going to make about 60 meatballs for me. So I'm not going to show you how I fry them in this video, but I'm going to try to make a second video for how to fry them. I wish I knew how to edit, because then I'd probably have to make a third video of what I do with my sauce. Mix it really good. Make sure you get it all the way around. Okay, so I'm pretty much mixed up good. Now I'm going to grab a pan so I can start rolling. I'm going to take that water that I had and I'm going to add some warm water to it. When you're rolling meatballs and you find that it's sticking to your fingers, and really I don't even like when it sticks to my fingers, so I will take a little bit of water and I'll put that water on my fingertips, and then I'll take a little bit of meatball mixture and I will roll it with my fingertips a little bit moist, and you're going to find it to be a little bit sticky. But that's because that's a good texture for the meatball. That means when you cook your meatball, it's going to come out nice and soft. So dip your finger in the water and just roll your meatball. I make them about this big. You can make them bigger, you can make them smaller. Depends on how your family likes their size of a meatball. Okay, so that concludes how to make the mixture and mix it and how to roll it. So stay tuned for the next video when I show you the frying process. Right now I got to roll 60 meatballs. See you soon.